Welcome to the Money Over 50 podcast, brought to you by Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue from Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. This information is general in nature and does not take into account your objectives, financial situation, or needs. Therefore, you should consider whether the information is appropriate for you and your personal circumstances. If you require personal advice, please contact Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. Here are your hosts, Dallas Davison and Michael Hogue.
Welcome to Money Over 50 with Dallas and Michael. Dallas, today we're here to talk about owning great companies with the push of a button.
Thanks, Michael. This was one of those weird shower thoughts that we often talk about, where I was thinking the other day about most great assets are actually, and historically, not just in our modern world, but it's actually been pretty hard for the average person in the street to own a really great income-producing asset throughout history. Like if you imagine, if I'm driving past a business down the street and I go, oh, that'd be a really good business. I'd love to own a portion of that. I don't just get to go back to my computer and jump into my CommSec account and buy shares in that business. If it's a private company, I can't just go and knock on the door and say, hey, I want some of your business. Unless I'm in the mafia or something like that. But the whole point I'm trying to get at here is that we sort of take this for granted. Like if I jump on Amazon and use their system to buy something, and I think, what a fantastic thing, Amazon, I think it's only going to get better and more valuable in the future or whatever. I think it's just a fantastic business. If I want to, I can just go and buy shares in Amazon. I can go and buy a part ownership of that business at the push of a button, which is just an amazing thing to think about, really.
It is amazing because leading up to this podcast today, I saw the title and I started to think about it.
Yeah.
And it's true of almost anything.
Yeah.
So the best properties, which people would consider Sydney waterfront properties,
yeah.
You can't just go and own fractional ownership of that.
No.
The best racehorses are all gone before they get syndicated out.
Yep.
To mugs that come in.
I was thinking about this the other day with cattle. Like we've obviously talked about, my parents and I own some cattle together. And I've talked to different people, they go, I'd like to own some cows. Well, you just can't, because where are you going to put them? You don't know where to start, how to buy them, where do they live, who's going to take care of them, all those sorts of things. Whereas if you think about, Amazon or NAB, like you can own shares in NAB without any understanding of the banking system or how that works, how NAB makes a profit. You don't have to know, you don't have to be involved, you don't have to make decisions about what loans should be extended or not. You don't have to do anything. You just look at it and go, that's a great company. I'd like to own a part of that. And you press a button and away you go.
Yeah, look, it is actually truly amazing when you think of it like that, because we consider productive enterprise. Yeah. So someone taking something, value adding it, and on selling it at a more expensive price and making a profit. We consider that the best asset that you can actually invest into. Yeah. Without digressing too much. Yeah. So to be able to do that, to do that relatively low cost, quickly, and buy fractional ownership of that. Yeah. If I've got as little as $100, I can buy some of these assets. It is amazing.
Like if you think of the alternative is, and this is, in some cases, this is literally how it had to be done, is that if you were retiring right now with $1 million, you can just push a button, that $1 million gets spread out across the greatest companies of Australia and all around the world. You get to be diversified across, hundreds and hundreds and thousands of companies of different economies, different industries, all those different things. You can be diversified across them versus, potentially, if you didn't have these publicly listed companies, the only way to do that is that you might say, right, I've got $1 million and I've got a mate I know who's going to be he's worked in banking. He's going to set up his own bank, and 10 of us are all going to throw in $1 million, and that's going to be the $10 million that we're going to start this bank, and he's going to be doing that. But then I have to worry about, do I know a guy who can actually run a bank, and is he going to do a good job? And am I going to be invested in the right bank, or is someone else going to come and cut his lunch? And am I going to make a profit? when do I, how do I sell out? If I need some of that money, how do I do it? You have all these problems that are involved with any sort of private ownership or any privately owned assets, that all the friction, all the problems that you normally would have just disappear. You can, and I think this is sort of probably part two, and I'm maybe rambling a bit here, but where this flows through is the problem that you don't necessarily get rid of that problem, but what that transfers into is to have the ability to do all that of a push of a button. The only downside is that you get to see what people are buying and selling your shares at and the price of that every minute of every day. And so if you own shares in NAB, you have to watch that NAB share price go up and go down, and you have to, if you're thinking about it and looking at it, you have to know that that's what your balance is doing moment by moment. But if you're really just thinking of it as, I want to own a share of this great business and a portion of this great business, and I want to hold it forever, and I want to get my share of the profits out of that, it actually doesn't matter what that price does every day. It just means that it's easier for you to get invested and be invested the whole way through.
No, it doesn't. And I mean, I actually see that as a benefit. I know a lot of people don't see that as a benefit, but the liquidity of that, and that's the reason why the price goes up or down. You have a guaranteed buyer.
Yes.
If you're the holder of a publicly listed company,
yes,
you have a guaranteed buyer.
Yep.
Right now,
Yep.
if you want to sell in part or in full, it's just that the price reflects the supply and demand aspects of that. So if there's not a lot of buyers around and there's a lot of people looking to sell, the price is going to come back. But you have that at call. So the liquidity of that is a major advantage.
Especially like a lot of these assets, you go when it comes to retirement. Like when you're retired, most people don't want that hassle. If you've got, again, you compare that. I just think about it as if you owned $1 million worth of NAB shares versus owning 1/10 of a $10 million bank that's run by your mate. If you all of a sudden need money out of that bank, it just doesn't. It's not how it works.
Yes.
In a smaller business, you can't just get out the portion you need. You'd either need to be bought out completely, and then you have the issue of what do I do with that money, or you have all those problems. Whereas it's really amazing that we can just take that money, spread it out, and then go, okay, well, I need some money. I've pushed a button to get my money invested. I can push a button and get $100,000 back out when I need it, and that's it. There's a $15 brokerage charge, and again, this isn't really how it works. But there's minimal cost to get invested and then to get out of those investments, which
there is.
Which is fantastic for liquidity and for retirement income, those sorts of things. The downside there is that because it's so easy to own those great companies, I think we then get caught in this thing of trying to get in and get out rather than just saying, no, I just want to be able to get in a really easy, frictionless way, and I'm just going to stay fully invested the whole way through. It's too easy to get out.
Yeah, look, and it's a perfectly symbiotic relationship between the shareholder and the company.
Yeah,
because so the company needs to grow, and they need to issue shares, and they need people to buy those shares.
Yeah,
the shareholder wants to, for all the reasons that we said, wants to be able to own these great companies, and fractional ownership of those.
Yeah,
they also want those companies to grow as well. And to capture economies of scale and all those types of things. So, we go back to Woolworths. Woolworths grew from 5 supermarkets in 1925 to over 1,000 supermarkets now. Yeah. Now, along the way, part of that was they knew they were onto a good thing. Yeah, we can buy this produce and package it all up and centralise it, and people will pay us a premium for that, and we can make a profit. We need to scale up pretty quickly. Yeah. So what do? They issue more shares. Shareholders come in and buy. They've all of a sudden got all this money to actually expand their supermarket, base from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20 to 50, and then they're up and running. So, it is the way the whole system works is just it's amazing.
Yeah, it is, and that's I think the thing about it is. No one's saying that there's never any issues with corporate governance or with, but just the concept that as the average person in the street, you are not locked out of these fantastic businesses is an amazing thing. You know, hundreds of years ago, you would have had to know someone. You know, you would have had to know that, you know, JJ Woolworths, who was starting out this grocery store, and he would have been, you know, you would have met your, you know, it would have been your mates that you met at the golf club, or I don't know if they played golf in those days, but you know, you would have had to get money in through someone, and it would have been all a bit of a, you know, who do you know and who do you not know sort of thing. Whereas now you just go, I think Woolworths is going to make, you know, profits over the next 30 years. I want to just invest some money, you know, buy shares in that. I want to own a part of that, and I want to just get my share of the profits over the next 30 years. I just go and press a button, and I own shares in all these Woolworths. It's a fantastic thing.
And talking about the risk of things, of course, that's something that's easy to do more than ever now, is diversification.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's another thing that bores us when people start to talk about, what do you think about this company? It doesn't matter what I think. I have no idea. No one else on the face of the earth knows what it's going to do.
Yeah.
What we choose to do is just diversify away from that. Now, there's people that will do that for us, and we can own the top 1,500, the largest 1,500 companies in the world. We don't even know what they are at any given point in time. We have a manager there that's going to sell out when companies move out of that 1,500, move us into the new companies moving up to take its place. So and you can get all of that for roughly $2,000 per year per $1 million that you have. Yeah, you know, it's amazing how quickly that you.
So that's
and cheaply you can get that.
If you look at that cost,
service done for you.
So you can basically invest in, you know, the biggest 1,500 companies in the world and the biggest 200 companies in Australia at a cost of, you know, $2,000 per year per million. If you've got $1 million saved for retirement, for the cost of $2,000. You can have that money. Yeah, you can spread it out across 1,700 different companies. You imagine if you had to go and find a company or find a business that you thought was worthy of your investment, and then actually have the negotiation, find the price that you think is fair, that you're not going to get stitched up on. Then you have to, you know, get your lawyer involved, draw up the paperwork, handle all that, do the banking transaction, get the money across. There's a huge amount of work involved, and historically that was just what had to happen. And even, you know, for us, for example, if you own a small business, you've transacted in any way, or if you bought a share or sold a share of a small business, you understand that there's a huge amount of work involved in doing that. But in our modern world, you just get to press a button and someone does that for you for such a fraction of the cost of what it would be ordinarily.
What I love about that as well, we obviously love to travel. And when I retire well into the future, I plan to be traveling all the time.
Yeah.
Now, I can relax knowing that I've got, you know, 1,500 to 2,000 CEOs around the world
getting up every day, and
cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
So of course there's companies in there that make mistakes, and of course there's CEOs that are
not doing a good job.
That are not doing a good job, and all that sort of stuff. Cream rises to the top. So I know that across the board, I've got these people waking up every day looking. Our interests are completely aligned.
Yes.
So they're looking to make a profit. They're looking to make the highest profit that they can. If, on the other hand, I had 3 rental properties and I'm on holidays, I'm worried all the time that the tenants are doing the right thing, that the real estate is
on top of
top of things, and all of those types of things. So just even from and I can have $1 million for the cost of about $2,000 a year, the direct cost of about $2,000 a year. Outsource that management. It's going to cost me a lot more than that to have that $1 million in rental property from a management point of view, from an agent as well.
No, that's right. So this is one of those, like I say, this topic. It was just a thought that I had in the shower the other day. I was thinking, we sort of take this for granted, but it is something that is. I think it's like your theory on making contributions into super. Because it's so easy and so tax effective, it's almost seen as, we sort of take it for granted. Whereas if it was like some big secret of, hey, you wouldn't believe it, but you can actually buy shares in Amazon and NAB and BHP and all. If
they made it harder to do, I think the skeptic in everyone says, if it's so great, why are they selling more shares? And that's why I mentioned the symbiotic relationship before.
Yeah.
A company needs money coming in to grow. Yeah. So I mean, a company never gets to an Amazon or well, no, they don't because even if they don't publicly list shares, they have venture capital coming in. So they need money to grow. Yeah. That's the symbiotic relationship of it. A company that's onto a good thing needs to issue more shares because they need cash coming in from new shareholders to be able to grow the business. Yeah. Perfect, and that's exactly what the shareholder wants as well. They want the business to grow. They want economies of scale. They want, that type of critical mass. Yeah, and the company, so the shareholder wants that, and the company wants the same thing. Yeah, it's perfectly aligned.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, I sort of didn't really clarify this at the start of this podcast, but the way that we invest our money and that we recommend our clients invest their money is not, I've said, use examples of NAB or Amazon or BHP or whoever. I'm not saying that my recommendations is to go and actually directly buy shares in that. What I'm suggesting is that you can put money into your superannuation fund and you can direct where you want that money to be invested within your superannuation fund and choose that you want it spread out across the biggest and best companies in Australia around the world. And every fortnight when you contribute money into super, that's effectively what you're doing, is you're pushing the button to invest that money every fortnight. And that's kind of what I mean is it's amazing that we get to own shares in these companies. I'm not saying that you should even spend any time at all thinking about which ones you should or shouldn't or how much or anything like that. I'm just saying that every dollar that you've got spare that you want to save for your retirement, you can just choose to push that straight across into your super fund, and your super fund will invest that money across those biggest and best companies. And then, like you said, those CEOs get up every day and go to work and try and maximise their returns to you as a shareholder.
Yeah, and the great thing about that as well is you don't have any idle money sitting around waiting to save up. Yeah. Because to use your example before, you had to save $1 million before you and you had to have 9 friends that had $1 million to fund your friend that was in banking who was going to start the bank. So that money was sitting idle. There's because it's so easy now to buy fractional ownership of these great companies. You just never have to have any money sitting idle.
Yep. No, that's exactly right.
And I think, there's a risk here that we oversimplify things a little bit and make it seem like the end to all of your worries is to go and buy these companies. There's so much more to it than that. Yeah. There's getting enough in. There's getting enough into the right companies. There's using the tax advantage that we talk about all the time. Yeah.
But I think it's just amazing that's in our modern world. That's really something that, like, when we're having a meeting with clients, we're spending most of our time talking about how to use their available resources in the most effective way. How to the money that they've saved, the money that they can save every fortnight, their super contributions, all that sort of things. And then we kind of just gloss over and go, well, so we get into super and we want to get that invested and working for you. And it does. And it's just because it's so easy, we sort of take it for granted. But like you say, it's amazing.
And if you look at those largest 1,500 companies in the world, they're spread over so many different currencies. Yeah. Spread over so many different domiciled countries. Yeah. So there's someone that will, for under $2,000 a year, will take your $1 million, will exchange it into different currencies, will buy into those companies, top 1,500 companies in the world. Yeah, we'll track that over time. Yeah,
we'll get the dividends back out.
Get the dividends back in, into the fund. Yeah, reinvest them on your behalf if you want to, or pay them to you. Yeah, they will move out. Sell out of companies that are moving out of that 1,500, top 1,500, and buy into companies that are moving in. They'll do all of that for under $2,000 a year. It's amazing. Yeah, it is amazing.
Yeah, I think I don't really have any pearls of wisdom. Just it's more of a concept really to think about, and that just because it's easy, again, I think you said like this. The skeptic is that it's almost too easy. It seems like we have to make this more complicated, and the point that I think the point I'd leave with is that it is just that easy. You can, to obviously make sure that you are putting enough money aside and that you are doing it in the most tax effective way. But in terms of how that money gets invested, you can just have someone doing that for you at the push of a button, and it's that easy and it's that cost effective and it's that good for you in the long term.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to the Money Over 50 podcast with Money Over 50 Financial Advisors. We look forward to catching up again soon.